Now, 1 week away from the November midterm election, one of the most important races in the country is taking place right here in our state. Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema is facing off against Congresswoman Martha McSally for Jeff Flake's soon-to-be vacant Senate seat. History is guaranteed to be made. One of them will become our state's first female senator. Now, a new NBC News Marist poll out this morning shows Sinema with a 6-point lead over her Republican opponent. Sinema receiving support from 50% of likely voters, but you got to keep in mind that does still fall inside the poll's margin of error. And joining us live in Studio 12A this morning, Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema. Welcome to the studio.
Well, it's great to be back with you guys.
Yeah. All right, let's get right down to business. You have the potential to be a real trailblazer here, not only as the state's first female senator, but taking the mantle of men like Jeff Flake and John McCain. Why should voters elect you to be the first Democratic senator we've seen here since 1988?
Well, I think that Arizonans are hungry for a senator who cares about the issues that matter to them. So they're less concerned about whether you're Democrat or Republican, and most concerned about whether or not you're solving problems that matter to them and their families. And the good news is I have a track record of doing just that. Working across the aisle, solving problems, and just getting stuff done. And it's why I was rated the third most independent member of Congress in recent years, because I'm willing to work with anyone to get stuff done.
A lot of people miss that about Senator John McCain, about his bipartisanship.
We all do.
Yeah, so how will you carry that on if you're elected?
Well, it's a very Arizona approach.
Right.
Just focusing on what needs to be solved, what's the problem at hand, and who can I work with to get stuff done. And folks in Arizona know that I'll work with literally anyone to get stuff done. I'm looking forward to doing that in the U.S. Senate.
Speaking of getting stuff done, Arizona has the third highest uninsured rate in the country. You've been very passionate about health care.
That's right.
What will be one of the first things that you will do if elected? What do we need to do here in Arizona?
Well, first and foremost, we have to protect the coverage that Arizonans have right now. So many Arizonans tell me that they're worried about the loss of coverage or losing important protections like pre-existing conditions. It's so scary for folks. I met a mom whose little baby was born with a disorder, a kidney disorder. And if it weren't for these protections, she wouldn't have been able to get care for her baby right after giving birth. So we've got to keep those protections in place and then work to expand coverage to more people.
All right, let's get to some breaking news that we brought to you just a little bit earlier in the show. Donald Trump making waves over the last few hours, threatening to sign an executive order that would remove birthright citizenship. And we know everything at our southern border is such a hot topic right now. How do you feel about the possibility of repealing part of the 14th Amendment?
Well, the president actually doesn't have the authority to do that. But this kind of behavior is just a distraction from what folks are really worried about in this last week before our elections. As I travel the state, the #1 issue I hear about every single day is health care, because that's what people are worried about in their everyday lives. Now, here in Arizona, we do need a solution to our immigration crisis, but that solution should be one where we're balancing, making sure that we're keeping our border secure and that we're being tough on the bad guys who are trying to come in, while also taking care of our dreamers.
I mean, to the moms watching at home, though, how much of an impact does our southern border really have on their day-to-day lives? Because this is an issue that's come up so much, especially in the campaign ads that we've seen so much over the last couple months.
Well, here in Arizona, we do need a secure border. We need to make sure that we're keeping out the dangerous cartels like Sinaloa and MS-13 who smuggle in drugs and smuggle in people. But what I hear from folks day in and day out is they're worried about their health care for their families. They're worried about education for their kids, and they're worried about whether or not their job's good enough to make sure their kids can have a better shot at life than they had.
One of the, biggest things that I hear right now is how tired everyone is of the political ads and how negative.
You're telling me.
Yes, they're exhausting and it's hard to watch. As we get closer and closer, what is one of the biggest misconceptions that you hear in those political ads about you? What would you like to clear up right now, 1 week ahead of the midterms?
Well, I'm so glad you've asked that, because unfortunately my opponent Martha has chosen to run a campaign that's almost exclusively focused on nasty attacks and lies about me. So what I would encourage Arizonans to do is actually take a look at my record. I'm the third most independent member of Congress, and I'm the third most bipartisan member of Congress. I was endorsed by the Arizona Republic and have been supported by chambers of commerce throughout Arizona. That record shows that I'm working hard to do what's right for Arizona. And I ask folks to just look up the facts.
All right, really quickly, we had a few people text in this morning. Thank you for getting your text into us. Sandy out in Gilbert says she is tired of the mudslinging. And in 15 seconds or less, without mentioning your opponent, what can you do for Sandy, who is out there on the fence about whether or not she should vote for you.
Well, Sandy, I'm really proud to have run a campaign that's based on the issues that matter to everyday Arizonans. So I've been laser focused on taking care of stuff that people tell me they care about. While they might see this kind of mudslicking from other folks, what they're always going to see from me is a focus on what matters to them and their families.
Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema, thank you so much for joining us live this morning.
Yes, and good luck. One more week and then you can sleep. All right, 6:08 is your time. 12 News is your home for Decision 2018 coverage leading up to the general election. Tomorrow, only on Today in AZ, Republican Senate nominee Martha McSally joins us at 6 a.m. for a live in-studio interview answering some of your questions. That's tomorrow, only on Today in AZ. And tomorrow is the last day to mail in your early ballots. If it's sitting on your kitchen counter like mine was for a week, get it filled out and mail it in. It has to be in tomorrow in order to arrive by Election Day. We want to know from you this morning, have you already voted? Go to 12news.com/yourvoice to weigh in our poll. 90% of the early risers say it is already done. Way to go. Still